It's Orange and Moo. My two favourite parts of the new intro. I always do it in chat. You didn't see me this time because I was too busy waiting to talk. So we're back at Starbase, ship 25. All being well, I've got 5x5s in chat. I knew that'd be good this time round, sir. But thank you for confirming. But luckily, I'm joined by two of our favourite people. Adrian, say hello, Adrian.
Hello, everyone. Always exciting to see some venting steel.
And you lucky people. Guess who else we've got? We've got Trevor Sesnick. Say hello, Trevor.
Hello. It looks like a great day for some ship testing.
Right, so what do we think is going to be happening today? We're not totally sure because SpaceX don't put press releases out saying today we're going to do some testing on Ship 25, this is what we'll do. They don't do that ever. We have to guesstimate a lot of the time. That's a real word, by the way, before anyone pulls up in chat. We have to guesstimate what's happening with the testing. We do believe it's not a static fire test because usually, but not always, they put out a notice and Mary lets us know because Mary lives at Boca Chica Village. Doesn't mean it won't be, because there's been a few occasions where no notice has been sent and suddenly do a static fire test, so you never know. At the very least, I would assume they're going to go for a spin prime test, what they were going for the other week, which they didn't go through with. They got to a frosty vehicle, but they did not go as far as the spin prime test. Spin prime tests are still fun. Spin prime tests are still visually interesting, so that's why we're live and we're covering it. Also, it is another step towards the next test flight. These are all milestones. We're all looking forward to Ship 25 eventually doing a static fire test, and that should be the last of the testing for Ship 25, and hopefully they won't roll it back, and hopefully Boost and I will then roll out. With his pad modifications ready to go, they'll start the vehicle, launch it, and then we'll have another one, won't we? It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it won't be. It'll be a while before that happens, but we're on the steps towards that now. That's why it's exciting. If you have any questions for us, please put @NASSpaceflight to start your question. Then put your question after it. What happens there is it goes into a little panel queue we get, so we don't have to keep an eye on chat, keep scrolling backwards and forwards and go, oh no, we missed a question, it scrolled off top of the screen. It goes into a special panel. We'll be able to go back to them over time. So if you're thinking, I asked a question 10 minutes ago and they've not answered me, I'm offended. Don't worry, we're getting around to it. We'll see it, it'll still be in our queue. So we'll find a question, we'll answer the best we can. Now then, let's first of all start by going around the houses. Adrian, you're our favourite person as far as tanking events go. We've had the recondenser spin up, have we? Where are we with this stage of testing? When can we expect a frosty ship?
Yeah, it shouldn't be that far away at this point. You can see the recondenser still online, and you can also see already like venting on the lines and everything, and also some like I would expect. Is that already a propellant line? Look at the lower tank. Is that? Like I see at least a ring, I think.
It does
So
look a
it
bit
might
frosty.
be. Yeah, I think this is this is the first sign. I'm pretty sure that's a frost ring. Let me just quickly AB this thing, but I think it changed. So yeah, it looks like they are moving into propellant loading pretty quickly. If it's not that, it will happen any moment now because the recondenser already started like 15 minutes ago, and the tank farm is priming. We can see venting. So yeah, we expect propellant loading very imminent happening here. And once that happens, we are moving into the later parts of this testing, where we will see what they will do today. Because as you said, Chris, it's 100% clear, and it's a bit of excitement always to look at what is happening. And if you think a spin prime is like, some people always think, whatever, if it's a spin prime or something like that, it's not that exciting. Remember that one of the most exciting tests in the last 2 years was the spin prime test.
Oh, well said, Adrian. Yes, those esteemed members of our community remember the Booster 7. Oh, it's just a spin prime test, will be very interesting. And suddenly, boom, and that pipe went flying, and we're all like, uh-oh, that's not good. And someone clipped off our feed and didn't even say it was from us. They clipped off our feed and said, Elon, is this normal? And Elon probably didn't even look at it and went, yes. Then about 20 minutes later, he deleted his yes and replied to one of our tweets showing it. Oh, that doesn't look good, or something like that. Something wasn't right. So, by the way, that little zoom in there was fantastic. We've got Patrick in the background. I never thank the people in the background, do I, Patrick? No, I don't. But thank you, Patrick, for operating the cameras and getting this lovely zoom. Nick placed his camera, so we've got a fantastic angle on the testing. And I really do like the idea that I've controlled it a few times myself. The zoom on it is crazy. It's like hyperspeed, and I have too much fun with the cameras sometimes. This one is one of my favorites now. But yes, so that's where we stand now. We're looking at things getting quite interesting quite fast. I wonder, Trevor, if I can bring you in on a wider view on all of this. This is Ship 25. We know it's going to be launching with Booster 9, at least as SpaceX has revealed it in a recent, quite interesting video. Do you think we're looking at a launch schedule this summer, or are we too tight? What's your guess on when do you think things will be ready? If everything goes well, Trevor, everything's going to go fine. No problems at all. When do you think they'll launch it?
My guess is November or so of this year. That's this schedule for them hitting a summer launch window just seems insanely tight, and so many things have to go well. Which, to be fair, this is SpaceX, and they're very, very good at doing these launch preparations. But I think this year is still feasible, but more toward the end.
Adrian, when do you think? I'm going to go around houses now. Adrian, when do you think the launch attempt could be? Both realistically, but also if everything goes well, and that's asking a lot in itself. But yeah, what do you think?
I think like in a very optimistic scenario, we are talking about like late August, early September. That would be my everything kinda hits the mark. In a good way, but I agree with Trevor. There would probably be in like the Q4 area, like somewhere in around. I always said I think it will be October, and I stand with that. I think around October is still a very feasible prediction. And remember, like if you look at it right now, you'll be like, oh, but there's not that much to do. But the devil might be in the details here, especially with so much new hardware around the deluge system and everything being integrated. There might be problems there that they still come up with when they test it, and so yeah, there's still work to do.
Not
And
to mention, we've
I
heard rumors that there's doing pretty significant retrofits on both vehicles following data gathered from the first launch. So they'll obviously need to go through and test both vehicles extensively. So there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm good.
that's also.
I'm going to.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Adrian. I was going to play devil's advocate and just put my 2 cents in here, or 2 pence, depends where you're from, into this conversation by saying Elon has said, and he's got another overview coming tomorrow night. Elon has said he wants to launch 3 more this year. Now, that isn't going to happen. I don't think anyone realistically thinks that's going to happen. But I think that kind of points to some kind of pressure going on now. I don't want to use the word schedule pressure because that's a dirty word from the short program. We don't want to bring that in. Luckily, there's no people on this. It's not too bad. But I think there is a little bit of pressure now that they want to get into refilling tests next year, and they need an orbital flight under their belts. There we go. I can't think of the word. Under their belt. And I don't know. There's something in me saying that they may just go for a free flight again because they want to validate that the pad has been retrofitted to the point that it now can cope with the launch. They want to launch after 3 seconds of hold rather than the 6 seconds we saw with Booster 7 and Ship 24. They've also going to have the steel plates in at some point. Again, that's going to be a caveat for when they're going to launch because they need to completely install all that system and then test it with a sonic fire test, a Booster 9. And then whatever happens with Booster 9 and Ship 25, they just want to try and get that booster part of the flight, the first stage ascent right. And I think they're not worried about that's why Ship 25 is launching probably. Because it's just not what I expected. I thought Ship 28 might fly next. I think they might push. Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was quite surprised when SpaceX announced in the video that they were flying Ship 25 next because, right, Ship 25 has the hydraulic pressure units to gimbal the Raptors, which seems surprising to me that they would want to stick with those after all of the problems that they had through the B7 flight and test campaign. But I agree. I think they just want to get data to see how the first stage performs. And then if they can get to stage separation and ignite engines on ships, I think that's a win. And then in the third flight, really target orbit. I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
That's super chats already. Thank you. When we say thank you for super chats, I'm not the most genuine sounding person in the world because of my accent. It's just how we are in Yorkshire. We're quite gruff. It's just the way we come across. But trust me, when I see super chats coming in at any time on any stream, live, dedicated commentary, whatever, I notice and I think these are the people who allow us to do this. Because without it, we would not be able to afford to do this. It's simple as that. So I really am extremely thankful for anybody who supports us anyway. And I know a lot of you can't do it financially because times are tough. So please do not feel obligated. Being here, watching us, liking the streams and things like that, even likes on this stream, it's free and it helps us. So if you like what we do, and you may be able to afford a super chat or whatever, just like the stream. It's free, costs you nothing, and it does help us. It all adds up. So thank you to everybody in this stream. But let's just point out the questions we've got from some super chats. Musical Wolves asks, if an abort happens again, will SpaceX do a recycle or end testing for today? Adrian?
Not that easy to answer. Because usually, I love to say this, but usually these scrubs have a reason. So they usually check why they scrubbed. Also, they are already quite far into today's window. We are already only 6 hours away from it closing, which, if you initially think about it, it's like, oh, it's 6 hours. They can do so much in that. Well, if they need like an hour of saving and detanking, then maybe like an hour to fix whatever it happens, we are suddenly only 4 hours away from the end of the window. So it's not really that they have like unlimited time for today. So I think they will try to just get this right. And also just to update on the timeline right now, it's a bit quiet for my taste. We have still a recondenser going and like the tank farm going from time to time, but it's not super active. It was more active, and also the pad vent and everything stopped again. So we'll see how this develops.
Austin has asked, is it a $5 tip? That's interesting. The tips are a different way of supporting us, but I'm going to put it in the chat. Again, I don't go on too much about, money and stuff, but I'll put it in there anyway, because it's very much another route you can help us. And it's just one way of doing it. It explains it in the link. I won't go on. Austin asks, is there a test today that might be in a prime time? Oh, what, the 420? 420 CDT is the prime time, I believe. Anyway, thanks everyone at NSF for being great hosts. Thank you, Austin. You're one of our regulars and very much appreciated. SpaceX News Daily, possibilities of an abort system for cruise ships. Okay, Trevor, do you want to take the abort question? What's the options for an abort of a ship during launch?
Yeah, so this is something that Elon's talked a little bit about in some interviews, and the consensus seems to be that why spend time working on an abort system when you could just launch hundreds of times and make the vehicle as reliable as possible? That said, Elon has, sorry, I have something in my throat, has talked about some abort-ish scenarios where, because Raptor is able to spin up so quickly, they in theory could ignite the engines on the ship to pull away from a booster. But as of right now, there are no plans for a dedicated abort system like we see on Dragon, which, let's keep in mind, is not unprecedented, right? The space shuttle, which we all love here at NSF, that didn't have an abort system. Yeah.
Yeah, let me talk about the shuttle abort systems. You allowed me to bring this up, Trevor, so it's not my fault for mentioning shuttle so early in the stream. The abort options for shuttle during first stage ascent were terrible. There was something called RTLS, which is return to launch site. Not the same RTLS where the boosters come back to the landing site. This was an abort mode. This was a serious abort mode where they'd lose an engine during first stage ascent. They could not abort until 2 minutes in anyway, because they had to get rid of the boosters and you couldn't just separate them while they were firing. And then you'd have to do this crazy maneuver to try and get rid of the external tank ASAP before it drags the shuttle back down, the orbiter back down, then do a massive bend curve and try and get back to landing site. In fact, it was so unrealistic that RTLS was actually more about bailout over the SRB recovery ships for pickup in the water. Thankfully, they never had to do it. Lots and lots of sims were done, and it was very rare that it ended well. But that was the only option they had during first stage ascent, and it technically wasn't first stage ascent because you had to stay with the boosters. So that was horrendous. So anything negative about, well, we don't have these special abort motors that pull the top of the ship off and things like that. Trust me, it's a lot better off than Spatial ever was.
I'm
So,
pretty sure we have a frost ring.
oh, hello.
Look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
LOX tank. You can see the white line which is filling up. So we can confirm now that ship 25 is in propellant loading.
Woohoo.
I'm sorry to interrupt there.
No, please do. Especially I'm in a shuttle monologue. I might be here for 10 minutes. Always interrupt me. Billy Charleston, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Oh, look at the Zoom. See the Zoom. The Zoom was amazing. Thank you for
Yes.
that, Billy. Methane Man, one of our regulars. He's even got his own command in chat. Thank you for gifting 20 Red Team memberships. 20 more people have joined our membership program for free, thanks to Methane Man. And of course, we benefit from that as well. So that's double the support. If you got a gifted Red Team membership from either Methane Man or anyone previously, please thank them in chat, because that is just something you rarely... It's a new thing from YouTube, and I think it's really good. Because a lot of people might be the massive fans of us, but they can't go buying Red Team memberships. We just got one probably. Because if you're a regular here, it works on that kind of algorithm based on how long you've been around, how many videos you've watched on the channel, and it kind of like ranks you where you are. So when the gifted memberships come in, you're ranked in that order or something YouTubey. But it's that way around. Freuderman, thank you for your super chat, and Aaron has become a Capcom member. Thank you very much, everybody. IDK asks, when will Booster 9 engines be installed? Trevor? I think they are.
Yeah, so Booster 9's engines have already been installed. It's thought that they're doing some work on them in the high bay, but last we saw it had all 33 engines installed.
And speaking of engines, Zach asks, and I know the answer to this, but I'll leave it to you, Trevor, anyway. Does Ship 25 have electric TVC like Booster 9?
No, it does not. It is thought that the first ship with ETVC is Ship 28, if I recall correctly, which is also, as we were saying earlier, is one of the reasons why I was very surprised to see that SpaceX was flying the ship next.
I agree. I was also thinking, well, they're going to try and match Booster 9's electric TVC with the ship. And then when they announced Ship 25, I was like, what? I remember the last Spaces Elon did. He's doing another one tomorrow night. He never mentioned the ship. And I asked him, I got one question. I asked him, I said, which ship's flying with Booster 9? He goes, you spotted that we've not mentioned the ship because I'm still deciding. And I annoyingly poked him. I very rarely do at Elon's. But I asked him a few times and he wouldn't bite. And I was like, they're still not decided. And suddenly that video came out. Goes, Booster 9, Ship 25. It's like, what? So that was quite surprising. But again, that points to me about all being about the Booster 9's flight. They want to get that part right. And that makes sense. They've got they've got so many boosters and vehicle and ships down the road at the production site. It's not like SLS where it's one shot and hope for the best and everything has to go right. They can, in the SpaceX fashion, test things, break things, fix things, and fly again. That's literally how they tend to work. Chris, with a store message, you must have bought something in the store. Thank you for that. I absolutely love spaceflight patches. Thank you for all you do for this channel, guys and girls. Never stop. Thank you, Chris, and I assume you bought a patch just from that message. All right, Thomas asks.
That would be a weird message to send if you just bought like a shirt. Like,
yes.
I love patches, and I will search by getting this shirt.
Hang on, Adrian. Maybe it was a shirt with a patch on.
Oh yeah, that's true. We have that as well.
Yeah, there we go.
Like that, you gotta get it on the shirt.
Right. Thomas asks, how are the repairs? How are the repairs to the GSC tanks going? Can you tell some are still dented? Do they still need to replace, or can they be simply repaired? Do we have a shot of the tank farm? I'm sure we do. Via, I might have to move it, unless you've got access to it, Patrick. If you want to move truck to the right, you'll be able to see the tank farm. It's a good angle on dents. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
we see how they patched.
Yeah.
We see how they patched some of the dents and have like a horizontal bar about them. They're working on it, I think is the answer, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating because I've been watching it on the Raptor sides and things like that, and they actually had people out there on lifts and they were literally like attaching things to them and pulling them out a little bit. And the way they look now compared to not long after launch is a lot better. But I also, on the last Raptor side, showed a video of them installing those cryoshells, those white cryoshells, over what look like baby little starships. They are like steel tanks inside there. So that's not the tank, that's the outside shell. And the shells obviously took the brunt of the concrete tornado compared to the insides. And a lot of them, a few of them are water tanks as well, because they were qualified to be the methane tanks they needed to be. And that's why SpaceX have installed different tanks, and they're even bringing new tanks in as well. So it's all part of the process. They're learning from it, but it's an important thing to note, because it wasn't one of the big failure modes, which we all feared for, where if Booster 7 had exploded on the pad, it had taken a tower out, it had taken a tank farm out, it had been serious amount of downtime to fix all that. So the end result is not too bad, and probably a good thing for the long run, because now they realise they need this water suppression system on the steel plates they're installing.
Yeah, it's an interesting question though, because right after the first flight, Elon mentioned in a Twitter space that this tank farm was going to be replaced by the hot dog style tanks for the next flight. And we've seen them bring some of those tanks in, yet they've also been repairing the vertical tanks that we see on screen right now. So who knows what they're doing when they're replacing tanks and whatnot.
I think based on, at least my expectation is that they might use them for other commodities than they were initially thought for, because I think there are things you can store in these that are less harmful if something goes wrong. For example, water. Like, yes, water leaking would be not great, but it's not catastrophic. For example, pure logs leaking, or methane was not stored in them, but like logs leaking, that would be a bit more significant. Or like nitrogen completely just leaking out in liquid form. Like, I think there's like ways where they might repurpose them to something other, or at least consider it, and that's why they repair them. But we'll see what the future brings. I would be surprised if we see like more dangerous commodities for the rocket be stored in them again, because you can never be sure that they are maybe not compromised in their structure.
Ben Shadow, I'm from the West Midlands. Aha, which I know because Birmingham, that area. And I've always loved watching all your launches from the likes of SpaceX and the Artemis program. Hope to see more. Thank you, Ben. Well, it's thanks to people like you that you'll get those things, because we can make it viable to cover them. So thank you. WP has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you. And again, if you got one of the Red Team memberships gifted to you, please thank the person you may have seen it from, such as WP. Graham W asks, what propellants are they using? Adrian?
What propellant are they using? They're using LOX, and so the main thing you're seeing right now is LOX. This is most likely, it's basically confirmed LOX. And we also see the methane recondenser active, so that means there's also methane involved in its tanks. However, they will usually, for sprint primes and static fires, only load a bare necessity of methane, because methane is explosive in the end, and they don't want to increase the risk for these tests unnecessarily. So they usually just load a lot of LOX and then a bit of methane, so the test goals and the test criteria are fulfilled.
Easy one for Trevor to answer, but maybe if we ask Trevor nicely, he might expand on the differences between the engines and maybe the naming of the engines. But X Ryan asks, I've pronounced that probably terribly, are they running Raptor 2s or Raptor 3s for Ship 25?
Yeah, so Ship 25 is using Raptor 2s, and to make the Raptor naming scheme even more confusing, it seems that a lot of it has changed. So right, originally there was Raptor 2, which is what flew on Booster 7, which was on Ship 24, and now Ship 25. And then they made this so-called Raptor 2.1, which is just the introduction of the ETVC, and I believe the 2.1 is an unofficial name. I believe I've heard that internally they're like Raptor 2 Block 2 or something like that. I don't know if that's true though. And those just have ETVC, and that's what's being used on Booster 9 and Ship 28, as we discussed before. And then Raptor 3, what Elon called it, is what we believe Elon has previously referred to as Raptor 2.5, and that is a significant thrust upgrade that they're just now starting to test in McGregor. So that's not in production, or it's not in production for vehicles yet, just for testing. So we have no idea when that's going to fly on vehicles. So yeah, the Raptor naming scheme is kind of confusing.
Which is very SpaceX.
Yeah. Raptor 2.2 full thrust.
Yeah, or remember the whole Starship block discussion, where we initially had MK and then changed to SN,
God, yeah.
and then it suddenly was S, and like there's some funny names here.
Somebody got angry with me on Twitter about calling it Ship 25 when it should have got SN25. I was like, no, they've moved on since then. Changed it again. Oh. But yeah, well, I think we all know, luckily they've got the numbers, so that helps us a lot. I'm just going to ask chat to do something to annoy the moderators. Sorry about this, moderators, but I've seen a lot of people mentioning where they're from. Why don't everybody just type where you're watching this from into chat, and we'll get a rough idea, and hopefully someone's from Yorkshire. Here we go.
That's
France.
the only thing you want to see, right?
Well, yeah, I saw a few Yorks once. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
Rhode
I've
Island,
never seen somebody
Minnesota.
from my city.
I'm gonna read them out as fast as I can. Germany, St. Louis got a good MLS team now. In Minneapolis, Austria, Germany, lots of Germans. Florida, India. God, it's going so fast. Norway.
I see some
Portland,
fellow
Oregon.
Coloradans.
Woo.
It's so funny how the US people always tend to put their state and even their city sometimes, and Europeans are usually like, country, that's it, that's all you get.
I've seen a few Yorkshires, Sheffields, Barnsleys, Hull. Isn't that Humberside? No, sorry, that's a joke for Hull people. They are East Yorkshire.
Oh,
Southampton, Leeds, someone from Dirty Leeds. Netherlands, Canada, Colorado again, Mexico, Dublin, Brownsville, Texas, you're local. Wow. Michigan, Poland, Ipswich. Good season for Ipswich last season. Huddersfield. Sorry, I like to make football references when they come up. Cheshire, Denmark, lots of Yorkshire. There's a fair few Yorkshire. We will be having a UK meetup sometime soon, and I will announce it both on our Discord and on Twitter, so everyone will be invited to it. We're thinking Leicester Space Museum right now. But yeah, we're just trying to work out a good date that doesn't interrupt us. Like, we don't be planning something just as Booster 9 and Ship 25 are stacked. We're waiting for a launch date. That'd be bad. So we'll plan it best we can. But I'll announce it both on our Discord, in our meetup area, and on Twitter. Anyway, back to questions. Mark,
make my way there.
Oh, are you? Are you going to make an appearance, Andrew?
Yeah, my plan is definitely to join the UK meetup. It's so rare that I can see space fans, so I wanna go there.
There we go. Oh god, that's a long name. Markinus Mackinson. That's an amazing name. If that's your real name, that's amazing. When will they do a very long static fire test with booster, or will the next flight attempt be the next long test for the orbital launch mount? What do you guys think? It's a good question. Can I just start off by saying, I'm going to go back to Elon's comment about one of the reasons why they had a rock tornado. He didn't like the 6 seconds they were firing up the engines to full thrust before they lifted off. He thought that was part of the problem, and he wants to reduce that by half, he said. Now, does that play into the static fire test? That's what I'm thinking. Maybe he'll only want to do the 3 seconds or so for the static fire test now. What do you think? Adrian first.
I think they will not do long tests. Long tests of multiple engines produce a lot of energy, and even on a launch situation, you wouldn't design your pad to withstand like a longer second firing of the engines, because that's not realistic. That's not how you do it on a launch. So I think any like 33 engine static fire of like a 10 seconds or so would just melt everything. So I do not think there will be... I think there will be some tests of the system, but they will be shorter duration, lower thrust. That's my expectation about this. And then like a 2-3 second 33 engine static fire to validate booster 9 before liftoff.
I agree, Trevor. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. They very clearly don't want to fire that many engines on the pad for that long. And I suspect that Booster 9's test campaign will be fairly similar to Booster 7, where the final test will be a 33 engine static fire test at 50% throttle, just to still test the pad's cooling and protection, but not risk damaging it. And then the real test will be launch.
Just reading chat, Horseman says he's from Asgard. I thought Asgard's a people, not a place. Movie reference for you there, Adrian. Sorry.
I actually got it in the sense of the Stargate.
Oh, well, fair enough. Different Asgard, but never mind.
Yeah, they also have Asgard. They are also
They do, don't they? Yeah, that's true. Very well said.
So.
Yeah, Stargate's wonderful. I love Stargate. Chris Hibbert asks, and I know the answer to this question, but maybe if maybe if Patrick can. He might not want to go off this split screen, but if not, we'll have a look at it later. He asks, did the QD get repaired and replaced yet? And I know the SQD and the booster QD are still a bit of a rusted mess right now. They pulled off the ship QDD, took it down by crane, and I'm sure they're doing repairs on it now, or modifications even, depends on what they found out from the test flight. And the booster QD is just a HUD, I believe. Adrian, what do you think?
Yeah, so right now the ship QD is not attached and everything again. So like the hardware is not ready for anything to support testing there. And we'll see. I am still curious if we will see a new design or if they repair it. I just don't know. And I'm curious what will happen there. But I don't have any like specific thoughts because that would be just gambling. There we go. There it is. See? No QD.
Yeah,
that's
there we go.
only
Thank you very
like
much.
that's only the platform around it, and the QD would be on top of it. That's like it kind of looks like these flying robots from Matrix, and
Yeah.
it's not there right now. And yes, I have watched Matrix. There we go.
I just love the scale of this because you can actually see where workers can be held, like almost like a platform. So you can imagine the size of people on that and the size of the arm in comparison. It is absolutely staggering when you see them working on the ship QD from that height and holding onto those railings. And we're getting a lovely zoom out here. Look at this. There's the chopsticks. Oh, chopsticks. And look at the ship for scale. That's crazy.
Well, to be fair, the ship is also.
I know it is further away. Yeah, we're not going to do a Father Ted reference here. Things are farther away. But all the same, it is an amazing structure. And they've got one at Florida at 39A, which we're going to have a flyover video come out rather soon, aren't we, Adrian? Which will show the latest developments at 39A, 39B, all the Cape Pads, Blue Origins Factory, Roberts Road, Port Canaveral, the whole shebang will be in that flyover video, and that's going to come out very soon. The next video coming out, I think, and that will be a fun watch. We'll link that in chat on all our live streams and tweet it out. If you're not following us on Twitter, please do, because it's me writing the tweets, and that's hilarious. Right, Twitter command. Let's see if I've done that right. Hang on.
We can also, at this point, by the way, see that the frost line is above the hatch at this point and still rising. I will have to see and look at the previous test where it stopped there. But it's filling up.
Jim Cava, one of our regulars. You've gifted one Red Team membership. Thank you, Jim. You do a lot. You've even got your own command. You do that many of them. So thank you. And We Will Rocket You has also done the same. Thanks, guys. Very much appreciated. I forgot to put that question into the actual thing there so that Chris's question is highlighted as we listen to a larger amount of venting going on. So things are really progressing quite well. We are keeping a very close eye now. We'll keep taking questions until something obvious happens and we need to commentate on it. But right now they're in prop load and it's going quite well. We know from previous experience that we'll get to the business end when they will start seeing header tanks venting. Is that right, Adrian?
Yeah, and also, there we go, small vent from the ship. But they also are at about 1/3 of where they were when they lastly performed this test last week. To be fair, we don't know if it's the same test. Like, we just speculate based on what we can see. But if they go for the same amount of liquid in the vehicle as last test, we are about 1/3 there. Although Starship has a slow and fast fill, just like SLS. This seems more in the slow fill area, and they can fill faster than this. So watch for that. They can even fill much faster on the orbital launch mount, which is something quite impressive. Like we saw it on booster test of booster 7. If they start to fill really quickly up on the orbital launch mount, it's quite impressive how fast they can fill these vehicles.
Carrie B's been a PadRep member for 22 months, but spoils it by saying West Yorks is best Yorks. No, I think you'll find that's North Yorkshire. Thank you very much, Carrie. I appreciate it. Oh, my word. Also, Danny says, thanks for the increased live commentaries on Raptor Size. Trust me, we're going to do a lot more when things are happening. We don't want to do live streams for the sake of live streams. It's a lot of work for a start for all the people involved, but hopefully when we do more and more of them, means more and more things are happening. So that's a good thing. Very, very much appreciate your support, though. You've been a Red Team member for 17 months, Danny. That's amazing. The Hoff. Not the real Hoff. Surely not.
Oh.
The Hoff says, did they relocate the flap positions yet? I presume that's on the ships, obviously. Trevor, do you know anything about the flaps being repositioned? Or Adrian, in fact, because you started talking?
No, Trevor, you ahead.
No. I think what this person is alluding to is when Elon said in an interview, I can't remember if it was on Twitter or with Tim, that they were going to move the forward flaps further up the vehicle, or further on the leeward side, so they wouldn't be at a 90-degree angle. And obviously, as we can see right now, they have not done that yet. We don't know if they're still planning on doing that. Elon has said that the current flap design is extraordinarily inefficient and he wants to change it. But it definitely seems like right now they just want to get a ship in orbit before worrying too much about getting it back. However, the other thing that he could be alluding to was another change that Elon mentioned, which was to the grid fins on the booster, where Elon talked about going down to having 3 grid fins instead of 4, and they also have not done that change yet. So lots of changes to come in the future, which will, in my opinion, make the vehicle aesthetically worse. But if it's more efficient, that's all that matters.
I agree. I will go on the record and I fully agree here with Trevor.
Just reading out some of these. They don't come up in our panel, but I've been watching the actual chat, and there's a way of what may have. Start again, Chris. Put your teeth back in. There's a way of getting those messages into a running order. I've got them here. Alien Activity, I think the name is. Been a PadRap for 32 months. No message, but it came up. You've clicked the button to show it, and that is amazing support. Thank you.
Wow.
Dusty has been a Red Team of 1 month and asks, I'm using this for the sake of it. Absolutely, why not? That's one of your benefits for being a member. Tyson, who's been a Capcom member for 17 months, loving the coverage. And I know you are, because I talked to you in Discord, and I just can't pronounce your name, but we'll have a chat later. Hello from a slightly warm Copenhagen, Denmark. 34 months. How long's the channel been going? I'm trying to work out how long we've had that facility to allow people to become members. That 34 months is pretty much close to it, I reckon. So that's amazing. Thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate it. Questions. Floor Perspective asks, do you think we will... when do you think we'll see the beginnings of the HLS, Human Landing System, variant testing? Trevor? Oh, Adrian?
No, go ahead, Trevor. I'm just making loud thinking noise.
Not for some time, in my opinion. SpaceX's main goal right now is test booster, get a ship into orbit. Once they have that data and can reliably do that, then I think they're going to start worrying more about building and testing HLS ships. However, we have seen some testing of components for that ship in Hawthorne. Like I believe we've seen an elevator mock-up in Hawthorne, and I think we've heard rumors that they're working on life support and all of that up there. So it's definitely in work, but when we'll actually see a vehicle out in Starbase or out at the Cape for HLS, it's a ways out, in my opinion.
I'm always reminded of the nurse cone I had at the production site back a few years ago. It was like a white nurse cone with a US flag and a NASA worm logo painted on the side of it. We're all hoping that you could see it on Tim's video. We're talking about Tim's interviews with Elon, the 3-parter one, and he was there at the time, I believe. And I was kind of hoping during the video that we're going to get a tour inside, or like a mock-up of what a human capable ship would look like just from the nose cone. Apparently, it was just a nose cone. There was nothing inside it. But that was quite exciting when I first saw that. And hopefully, it won't be in the space because Twitter and Spaces are just audio. But hopefully, Elon does a video, maybe a presentation at Starbase in the not too distant future, and we start seeing some new graphics and some new renders and some new videos. But I think that's a while off because they want to get, as we've mentioned before, they want to get to orbital. That's the whole concentration right now. A flight to orbital, get Starship to the point where it's operational, start launching Starlinks, then worry about HLS with the refilling, and the future goal of Artemis. Raymond asks, how many Raptors do we think will be tested for the first static fire test of Ship 25? He writes SN 25. I'll start off by I believe that SpaceX tweeted during rollout for its 6-engine static fire test. So I believe they'll go straight into 6. What do you think, Adrian?
I think they will, like, they know ships at this point. They have tested this plenty. So I feel pretty confident that they will perform a spin prime, which I think will happen today, and after that move into a 6-engine static fire right away. And that will be it. I think they will this test and one more test, and that's all the single vehicle testing that Ship 25 will get. After that, it will just be like the fully integrated like fueling test. But I do not think, besides that, there will be any testing to the ship.
Just to keep you on the microphone, because it's a tank farm related question. Stephen Hall asks, is methane now being produced on site? Hi from Manchester, UK. Manchester.
Yeah, no. They are still trucking it in. There's a lot of methane always getting in there, but so far we lack any confirmation or any indication that they are producing methane on site. So far it's coming with a lot of trucks, and I wonder. I think one of them has a shuttle on it, but I think that's a nitrogen truck and not a methane truck, if I recall correctly. But yeah, it's not on site.
Here's one for Trevor. I've got my own thoughts on this, but I'm going to let Trevor go first. Ship 30, ironically, asks if Ship 25 fails to get to re-entry, do you think they will skip 26 and 27 and fly 28? I'll let you go first, Trevor. I've got thoughts.
In my opinion, definitely. Elon mentioned, at least I think Elon mentioned on a Twitter space, that they don't really see a point in flying a ship where they couldn't get re-entry data at this point, especially in my opinion if flight 2 of Starship does not allow them to test re-entry. It is very probable that flight 3 will allow them to test re-entry. So I think that 26 and 27 were just to get practice building ships while they had some downtime and while they were waiting for the first test flight. However, SpaceX has proved me wrong many times, so it is definitely possible.
Adrian, any thoughts?
It also depends a lot on if they find something that is a major deal breaker for any of the ships. For example, if there's some hardware issue on Ship 28, they also have on Ship 25, and they find out during flight, yep, this doesn't work, and they need to redesign it. Like, that's also considerations here that you at least have to have. However, I agree with Trevor. I think that is the likely approach, and I think it's more likely that they will skip more than that they will fly 26 or 27, because the general trend is that SpaceX is pretty good at identifying problems and being very quick at how is it called?
Evolution.
Evolution on it, and that's why I think they might skip more, and that would surprise me. But I don't think they will fly 26 and 27. That's not.
In an interesting note, if we go back to the suborbital test flights, right, SpaceX skipped tons of vehicles that they were preparing during that. So this is something we've seen SpaceX do many times. They don't believe in, oh, we built it, so we have to fly it. They're plenty fine with, oh, we got practice, let's move on.
Yeah, you actually took my, what I was going to come up with as my Chris's thought of the day was going to go back to the ship hops. They flew SN5 and SN6. They both went better than they probably assumed, or at least that's the way it's portrayed by Elon. And that's when they went on to the higher altitude hops, where they got more testing before they eventually found the sweet spot with the return. And that took a lot of modification. Again, you can point to that for the full integrated stack testing, that they took several goes before they got it right. And you can go back to the Falcon 9 landings. That video is still out there by SpaceX. They actually put it out themselves, which I found fascinating. I thought that was a great, almost like hat tip to, look, this is how we do things. We break things and make them right. And that, how not to land an orbital rocket, or how not to land an orbital booster with all the crashing and the sound, the Monty Python soundtrack almost to it. That was an amazing thing to have now, because they've had so many consecutive landings since then. It's almost crazy how well it's going, and that gives me hope that even if they have a few more, and they will do probably a few more ups and downs with this full integrated stack, to say the least, and it's a lot more of a challenge than booster landings, let's put it that way, then they will eventually find a sweet spot, because they have that knowledge that if they keep trying, they'll find it. They've got the right people for it. Anyway, I don't go too much.
I think I also agree in terms of they're trying something incredibly difficult here. I think sometimes it's almost understated how difficult Starship is, because we are already talking about the company that made booster landing happen, which so far is a technology that has yet to be copied for orbital rockets. It's quite difficult, apparently, to get, and they're kind of one-upping this. They want to make it even better. They want to make they're at the point where yeah, well, we don't need to land on legs. We just land on sticks, and then we also want to land the second stage. It's quite crazy what they are trying to do here with this vehicle, and I'm always impressed by what they attempt here, because it's a massive vehicle that alone would be challenging to launch, but they also want to make it fully reusable, which is crazy.
Yeah, rapidly and fully reusable vehicle. Let's remember that Falcon 9, the upper stage, the second stage, does not return. The boosters do, and it's amazing what they're achieving, and even the fairings do. But to have a completely reusable, super heavy lift launch system is going to be such a game changer. It's hard not to wish them well. You can be objective, you can be a fan of the company. This will change the paradigm. It'll be a paradigm shift with everything, because it's the mass to orbit and the price of it. It changes the scale ridiculously, and it only provides an interesting future to what we can do in space, and eventually, long term, create a city on Mars, which is Elon's big goal here, is to make life multiplanetary. That's the whole reason of this rocket. And that is an exciting thing to know, that if you're a young person in this chat right now, the future you've got coming towards you is crazy. Because when I was probably your age, if you're a young person, all I had was shuttle and the occasional Lockheed Martin, Boeing and Delta II launches and what have you. It was just that, and it was kind of like no forward path, because we were low Earth orbit and that was it. Now it's completely changed again, and that's why I'm not sad that shuttle's retired, because it has allowed NASA to put their expertise and funding towards things like this, because HLS has got a contract with Starship, and that's billions, and that really makes things work as far as SpaceX's viability to pumping a lot of money into this program goes.
Yeah, and to be fair, there's 2 fully reusable rockets now, or potentially fully reusable rockets attached to Artemis, because we have Starship, but we also have New Glenn of Blue Origin, who is trying to become a fully reusable rocket. Of course, they are much more behind SpaceX in that term, but it's kind of cool that the endeavor to go to the moon again is also the endeavor to get 2 fully reusable rockets on the planet.
Yep. And those questions have been reading out are just questions, by the way, just at NASA Spaceflight, and it came from our panel. People go, you only read all the super chats. No, they were all just normal questions. Speaking of super chats, I've got to recognise these people because, again, it is all thanks to these people we can do these things. That's what allows us to be viable. Westy the Third, one of our regulars, gifted one Red Team membership, as has Cursed Pain. Thank you very much. Aliter asks, give me some hope because I don't see how this becomes a crew-rated lunar landing in 2 or 3 years. Even the Falcon 9 took longer. No, was that only LEO? Okay, so let's break down that question, Trevor, and go through this. First of all, what's your thoughts on the timeline on HLS and Artemis, where this becomes a crew-rated vehicle and can be part of the HLS program in that timeline?
It seems fast to me. However, let's not forget that SpaceX at this point has quite a bit of experience flying crews, having life support, and dealing with all of that. They've flown, almost 40 people to orbit at this point. So, in my opinion, I think that the Artemis landing is going to slip quite a decent bit, maybe in, the later 2020s. However, let's also not forget that 3 years ago, Starbase was conducting suborbital hops and the orbital launch pad didn't exist, and Raptor was very immature compared to where it is now. So 3 years is a lot of time. SpaceX has a phenomenal engineering team. SpaceX has way more experience getting vehicles crew rated than they did with Falcon when they were crew rating Falcon 9. But yeah, as you point out, Falcon 9 is only going to low Earth orbit when Starship is a bigger vehicle landing on another body. So yeah, it seems fast to me, but I really hope that SpaceX can pull it off.
Adrian?
Okay, I will answer this in a bit. Just a note here, we have the beginning of, I think, engine shell.
Ooh.
I will answer this question quickly and then explain where I see this. So I think it's tight on timeline. However, I think everything regarding Artemis 3 right now is tight on timeline. I think it will significantly slip, like 2 or 3 more years. That's just in the nature of spaceflight usually. Also, it doesn't need to be fully crew rated in the sense of like how a normal rocket would be crew rated, because it's not launching with the crew on board. It's becoming a lander. Like it's probably a different process in how it will launch. Like Super Heavy will not be involved with any humans for Artemis 3, for example. So that's probably also a technical difference that we make. Yes, I think it's a tight timeline, and I think they will be very close in 2025, 2026. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Starship takes like 2027, 2028 to have a fully ready lander. And also, just on a note, in the engine shell, you can see the pipe on the right, on the left side of yours, like in the left picture. You can see a pipe on the right side of the vehicle. That pipe was frosting, which is usually an indication of engine shell. And also, it was venting a bit just a bit ago. So that's usually a sign that they use this pipe to get gases away from the engines when using engine shell. So that's probably a sign we are moving into like a situation where they start engine shelling very soon, which fits the over test flow here. Just to wrap up my very long answer, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I've got a few thoughts as well. I do agree. It's a very good question because it is quite tight, the timeline. I would never bet against SpaceX. A simple way, it's a good policy to have. Do not bet against SpaceX. I am in the back of my head hearing Elon talking about thousands. I think he exaggerated, but thousands of launches before he puts a crew on it. I think that maybe applies more to the likes of Dear Moon, where Tim Dodd's going to fly around the moon. I think that's when that kind of crewed mission would only be after they are as confident as they can be that the vehicle is going to be fine with the crew on board. I think it shifts slightly more with Artemis because we're talking about NASA astronauts, and I think there's different risk levels involved. They never want to risk a crew full stop, don't get me wrong. But I think there's mission priorities and mission goals and ultimately backups to what there is. Now, Dear Moon is more of a, I don't want to demean it at all by calling it a tourist flight, but it is literally kind of like that kind of idea where it is non-professional astronauts going on it. I just, for my mind, thinks that I think that's about 5-6 years away at least. Just the way
Yeah.
the schedule may play out. It's going to be exciting. It's not going to be long when you think about it compared to the development timeline of some rockets we've been following over the years. But yeah, it's a very good question because it is tight, but we'll know better probably in a year or so's time with how the test flights and maybe initial Starlink launches have been going.
It's also quite an interesting situation because I would have a hard time to pick what launch is more challenging in terms of certifying it and getting it ready. On the one hand, you have a lander getting ready and getting that fully operational. On the other hand, you need a vehicle where also the booster is certified for crew launches,
Yeah.
which probably is also complicated. So you have two very different problems that lead to two very different launches. And it's an interesting dynamic there, I think. We'll see how
Yeah.
that plays out over the years.
It's exciting, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Speedrun. Danny, thank you for gifting Red Team membership. Also, Marek has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you again. If you want his memberships, please thank the person in chat because it is just... It's a lottery, but it's based on you being a supporter of the site by watching our videos and being in the streams. So you have earned that by... Go on.
There, I think, is the start of Engine Chill.
Hey!
A bit of venting again from it. You can see, like, it started and stopped again. Like, it's just the beginning of it. But I was just pointing out. Go ahead with your speedrun.
No, it's fine. Again, please do interrupt me when we're watching this live stream. We're just basically talking between the events. Always interrupt me. Queen Step, thank you for the live stream. Deuce, thank you for you supporting us. That's $100 tip. Wow. Thank you very much. That's a massive one. And yeah, I didn't notice that until I actually clicked on the thing to show it. $100 tip. Thank you. That is huge. Really appreciate it. That really helps us a lot. Dan Elgon, 1 Red Team membership. As is Elisa, one of our team, has gifted a Red Team membership. Elisa made a Red Team Raptor debut the other day. We're going to get more and more of our team involved in these Raptor sides because they're more chilled and more relaxed, and we can have people chatting, the operators, the moderators, people like that. And it's just cool to put voices between the names. So it's something there where Elisa was one of the people who joined yesterday. Or was it the day before? I can't remember.
It can also not be understated how important these people are for this operation. It's not only the SPL operators who are doing an amazing job, but also people that help us run the social medias or moderate the chat. It's insanely helpful. It's super important, and it's you can never appreciate it enough.
Absolutely. I'm going to try and find some of these. Just they don't come up in our panel, but I'm going back through them in the chat. Lisa Fitzpatrick has been a Capcom member for 4 months, and just as a heart emoji, thank you very much. I hope I'm not missing people. Trust me, I've been watching them come through in chat. I do recognise them. I'm trying to read them all out there. Big Knowledge 24, 2 years as a Capcom. Wow, that's amazing. Also, Rough Riders Show, one of our team. Gary the Grackle fan club, proud to be a member. 32 months as a Capcom member and part of our team. Again, that's a good way of getting involved with us, by the way. If you have spare time on your hands and you're in our Discord, please let us know. We're always looking for more people who can help out in our team. And if you've got a profession, maybe you're an editor, maybe you're a broadcaster, drop us a line on the front page. You'll see join a team, and there's an email form to fill out there. Just put some sample work or whatever in there. If you're a writer, somebody who's writing in the space industry, we do pay people for content. So it's one way of, if you've got a profession and you've got experience and you've got some background, let me know, because you never know, you might be part of our team before you know it. Marcus said, you guys rock. Thank you very much. Kenneth says, to all the NSF crew, thanks for all the hard work. Thank you for being a supporter as part of Red Team there. I'm just going through them. 2 years for Vadzim. That's a great name. That's 2 years as Red Team. Wow, that's amazing. Jeff has been Capcom for 28 months. I'm going to go through them best I can. 3 years. John L. 34 months as a Capcom. Wow, that is crazy. Okay, Ryan asks, if the Artemis landing gets pushed, I give it a 25% chance it's only SpaceX's fault. HLS probably won't be ready, but neither will anything else. So let's just digest that question. That maybe SpaceX might be not in line, like the recent was it the government accounting office? I can't remember now. Said that they weren't too confident about the HLS timeline.
Yeah.
What's the thoughts about Artemis from the SLS side and the Orion side? Do we think they may be delayed and not SpaceX? If they are delayed, it won't be a big deal because the rest of the vehicles won't be ready for it, Orion and such. What do you think, Adrian?
I think Orion, maybe depending on the findings on the second flight, and it depends. Orion is a bit more fluid because it will be used on the second flight. Based on just hardware readiness and schedule standpoint right now, it doesn't seem like it, because both Orion and the European service module are on track from what we know. And from the SLS side, again, another problem here as well. We just have to see Artemis 2. But as of right now, and as of where they are in barrel production and SRB segment production and like everything, it seems like Artemis 2 and 3 are fairly on track. Of course, it's spaceflight. It's always on track until suddenly it isn't. But we'll see. We'll see how it develops. But as of right now, I would say that SpaceX or the spacesuits are the most likely candidates to derail a 2025-2026 landing.
Yeah.
I will just note that if you want to keep track of this, NSF's own Philip Sloss has fantastic articles covering this on the article side.
Yes, absolutely. It's the best way to keep track of SLS, I fully agree.
Okay, I believe one thing we can mention that we've got, if you want to be a supporter, like we just mentioned, all the supporters we've got, but also there's a way you can get stuff in the post from us for your support, which is our merch store. I'm so proud of this. I do say I'm proud of it because I really am, and I've got pretty much most of the merch out of this just for myself because I just want it, and it's actually very, very good quality merch. I've got not only just the t-shirts and hats and stuff, but also I've got things like the metal prints. But let's look at the plushie right now. The plushie, Adrian, when do we expect the plushies to actually ship? Because these are custom made. We've made sure we've got them right. We don't want to rush this. We want to make sure it is right. Yes. So when we do actually send them out, they are exactly as we hope they would be. And that's where we are right now. Adrian, what's the latest on the timeline for actually being distribution?
So they are in production. That's where we are right now. We are producing them. They are not yet in shipping. That's basically from where I am right now. I expect that to happen any day now. And once that is happening, then of course, logistics chain and everything, very complicated and very boring things. And at the end of that, I hope we are shipping in early July. That's like end of June, early July. That's the time frame. So soon, actually. That's where we are looking at right now with the plushie. Of course, there could always be a situation where something may delay, especially with the international situation right now. But we are looking good right now for probably end of June, early July for shipping.
I just noticed a question from Robert Hobson, who's been a flight engineer for 36 months. That is ridiculous. That is a crazy amount of support. Thank you, Robert. Chris, give us a cool shuttle fact. Okay, well, I've got hundreds of them, but I'll give you one of them. Did you know Atlantis is technically married? It's true. There was a post-flight document, a PDF, that noted that an engineer had lost his wedding ring inside Atlantis and they never found it. And it is what's called a mid-body lost item. So Atlantis, to this day, even at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center, has got a male wedding ring in her mid-body somewhere. And no one has been able to find it. So technically, Atlantis is married.
Chris, is that by chance to you?
No, it's not my wedding ring. She is the best shuttler.
I agree, and that's only because she's named as a Stargate, just like a Stargate series.
Oh my word. Oh yes, Super Steph, thank you very much for your support, but also mentioning, don't forget to mention the field trip tomorrow. We call it field trip. What is happening there is when Stennis Test Center does a test of an RS-25, which has been quite a lot recently because engine E10001, an RS-25E technically, has been tested 12 times. It'd be the 12th test of this engine now in a quick succession. We all linked the live stream to Stennis, NASA Stennis live stream, into SBL chat, and everyone runs over to the Stennis YouTube channel, which has probably got 100 people in it, and there's suddenly 400 people, and it's all us. So it's our field trip to watch an engine test of an RS-25 at Stennis, and that's what we call a field trip. Question from Florida Man here. In the event that a future booster happens to fail in a manner similar to Booster 7, will Starship be able to abort, detanking flight, and RTLS to be caught by the tower arms? Trevor.
As awesome as that would be, no. First of all, Starship has basically no way of detanking like that in flight. The closest thing is the FTS, which is not exactly ideal. And then also, booster, I mean, hopefully we don't see a similar failure mode to Booster 7, but no abort contingencies have been programmed in, and SpaceX is not even close to testing catching a booster or ship. So
Hello, more engine chilling, and I think I will. I said it. It's gone away.
Oh,
It's shy.
Have you jinxed it?
Yeah, every time I say it's happening, it's stopping again. I think it's shy.
Well, let's put it this way, Adrian. Based on what you're watching, the observations, where do you think we are to potential spin prime test on a timeline? How many minutes away do you think we might be?
Okay, I will try to keep this as short as possible, but it's hard to predict because this is what I call in my documentation stuff a long fill. Basically, there is a very short way to how they fill these ships, and that's like just the minimum. This is not the minimum. This is more than the minimum. You can see it by the fact how much the LOX tank is covered. As soon as they go over the area where we are with a short fill, it's hard to predict until engine chill starts. Because we don't know how much they fill. Like right now I'm in a bit of an unknown because I just don't know how much they want to put into this vehicle. The next thing we would expect here is engine chill. Like a sustained engine chill. Once we have that, we are about 13 to 15 minutes away from a potential T0. So we are probably looking at that pipe, and once that is really sustained, and we are really seeing it like venting constantly, that's when we hit the clock and be like, okay, like about 15-13 minutes from it. But based on what we see, I think we can expect, and based on when the condensers start, we are probably in an area where like 30-ish minutes, maybe a little bit less. But again, it's hard to say with the data we have right now.
And lots of people in chat are asking, is this a spin prime or static fire test? We do believe it's a spin prime test. It's not 100%, but we base a static fire test on a notice being given to the Boca Chica village residents, of which is mainly just SpaceX's now and Mary. We have not seen a notice being posted. It's not foolproof. They have previously, one or twice, on 2 occasions I should say, done a static fire test without a notice being posted, but it's usually a notice. We think, based on that, it's a spin prime test.
Look at that. Now that looks more sustained. That's I think engine chill.
Adrian, propellant load wise, we're at around 80% of what we saw for the last attempt, correct?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, like somewhere in there, and I think that's engine chill. So we
I
are
agree.
talking about 315 to 320 for
Ooh.
the test. I think that's a realistic expectation. We are talking about like 315 to 320 for the test to happen here.
And a quick question.
And
Go on, Adrian.
I'm not sure if I should go on because the more I talk, the less gets this vent.
Yes, you're jinxing it. That's how it works. It's listening to our commentary, the actual ship. That's how it works, yes. A quick question from Blank Space, who asks, any news about the offshore platforms? They have no longer any plans with Phobos and Deimos, the 2 ocean oil rigs that they bought. We saw being shipped from port to Brownsville. up to Chakagua, I think it was called, or someplace crazy. They are no longer working on those rigs. I think they sold them, in fact. So they are no longer in the plans for now. They may look at some ocean platform in the future, but it won't be Phobos and Deimos.
So
And on
can I
that-
point out, I also read that person's name wrong. It's black space, not blank space, but
Oh, yes,
Oh,
there we go.
no.
I wonder what's going on there, Trevor. Have you got into my head?
I think so.
Yes.
Taylor
Luckily,
Swift fans are invading.
yeah, luckily, if I started singing, it wouldn't be a copyright strike because I can't sing. There we go. And on that bombshell, I believe because we're getting close to testing, I need to get off and be ready to do the tweets and stuff because it's so important. The main thing is we've got a replacement in the wonderful tones of Ryan Caton. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello, everybody. It's me, your favourite space person from the least space place in the country, Norfolk.
Norfolk. Oh, we might see some tractors in space at some point, won't we? Anyway,
Yeah.
and on that note, I'm going to bid you all goodbye and leave you in their capable hands. So bye from me for now, and over to you, Ryan, Adrian, and Trevor.
Thank you very much.
Alright.
So I'm just gonna. I will be honest. I haven't really been listening into the commentary so far. So I'm gonna request, for the benefit of myself and any audience members who have just joined, what's been happening? Where are we? Tell me all things Starship, Adrian.
Yeah, so there was this company founded called SpaceX, and they started their company with Falcon 9. We are looking at Starship 25 being frosty, mainly on the LOX tank. We know there's something in the methane tank, but it's not enough to show as a frost ring. We are seeing engine chill at this point, and we are expecting a test in about 10 to 15 minutes from now. That's where we are in the test sequence right now, and based on the available notices we have right now and the situation, we are expecting a spin prime test for this one. Is that what you want as a summary?
It tells me everything that's going on, which is very helpful. I see, from my perspective, I see frosty stuff and venting, which means, in my head, this means spin prime or higher. So thanks for the update.
Adrian, should we go over real quick what a spin prime test is for those who are just joining us?
Oh, that's a very good point. Do you want to take it, Trevor, or should I?
Yeah, I can. So what a spin prime test is the Raptor engine, right, has two pre-burners and associated turbo pumps. There's the oxygen-rich side and the fuel-rich side, the CH4-rich, which is CH4-rich. And all the spin prime test is they run a little bit of liquid oxygen through the LOX turbo pump just to make sure that all of the engine machinery is working as expected. So no fire today.
There we go. Hopefully no fire. We have.
Hopefully.
I want to make a the exclamation point here, like we hope there's no fire.
There are a few questions that have come into the queue. They're a little bit old now. Buzz asking, what is that side vent? I'm going to assume that means the little vent that's kind of popping out the right, from the perspective in the right box, the little vent that's popping out the side of the ship every now and then. Adrian, what does that vent do?
Oh, there's the side vent on the main tank. So in the tanks are not empty because that would be a vacuum. There's usually something ambient in.
There you go. It goes now.
There we go. And of course, the liquid oxygen also starts to boil, so you have gas in development. So to fill it more up, to basically make sure you're filling it up, and also to maintain pressure because it starts to boil, you need to kind of control the pressure in it. And the easiest way to control pressure in it is if you want a higher pressure, you let it boil. If you want a lower pressure, you vent it off. And that's what they do here. They basically have probably a certain range where they want to be in terms of the pressure in the tanks, and if it goes too high, they vent it off and they reduce the pressure.
Very good. And still talking tanks, drones asking, when does the header tank start to fill? Trevor, are we seeing a header tank fill for this kind of test? And if so, when does SpaceX fill it up?
Yeah, so we will see the header tank be filled, not completely, and at least I don't think we saw it completely filled last time for this test. and then we'll see it venting, and that'll be a good indication that we are nearing the associated T0. And that's last minute, so I think we saw the vent from the header tank in the last 5 to 10 minutes before what we thought the T0 was, but Adrian can say for sure.
I have nothing to add. That sounds perfectly fine to me, and that's what we saw. Of course, just as a point out here, the last time we had a hold somewhere, and I can tell you from tracking this now for 2.5 years, the worst thing that can happen to you is a hold. Because A, you don't know when it happened, and B, you don't know when it resumed. So it completely throws off every single prediction you had. So that's why I always say I don't predict recycles. As soon as there's a recycle happening, I don't touch that anymore. Because it throws off so many indicators, so many events, you're like, you're bound to go wrong. And I don't like to just go wrong based on guesswork. I want to be at least decently sure before I put a time up.
There's a couple of similar questions in here. One from Wen Orbit and Josh Lowe, basically asking, firstly, any updates on the FAA launch license progress for the second integrated flight? And then Josh asking, what are our predictions for the second integrated flight? Adrian, have we seen any progress regulatory-wise on that flight? And also, when do you think it may be going?
The only thing I think we have seen is the standard renewal of the FCC license so far, which is, I love how every time it happens, some people are very excited suddenly and be like, oh no, it's happening any day now, and it's like, no, it's just a 6-month renewal. Also, we see now side venting, which is also indicating more going on here. There's just, like, this is more of engine chilling, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, we have not seen any regulatory indication on the process there and what they are doing there. But remember, for the first flight, it just suddenly happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we had a progress update. We will not get progress update. It will just happen at some point, and then they are ready. I do not expect any updates.
Yeah,
I know
it's not
there's
like
someone in our member Discord he says something along the lines of, launch license are like magic. They never come early, they never come late, they always come right on time. Alluding to the fact that generally when the vehicles are ready, a launch license will be ready, so.
It's not like SLS. I think Artemis 1 kind of spoiled us a little bit because we had press conferences for everything with everybody. We don't get that with SpaceX. It's a private company, then they don't have to do them things. So, yeah, just lower your expectations on that. And, yeah. A question here from Out of Space asking about the flaps, actually. We've got a good shot of the flaps there while the engine's chilled down. You can see some of the frost popping around. Outer Space asking, are Ship 25's flaps operated electrically or with hydraulics? Trevor, we did a video about this not that long ago, how to build a ship. How are the flaps actuated?
They're electric now. I believe the Mark 1 was hydraulic, some of the original ships.
They even use, like, I think they at some point used, like, Tesla motors, right?
That's what Elon said once, but it's hard to know how serious that comment was.
We can't exactly like pop our head inside of the ship, so it's difficult to verify on that note. But I mean, it would kind of make sense to carry technology they've already developed across, whether they are literally pulled out of a Tesla Model S or whatever, or they're like, you know, beefed up a little bit for the larger aero services. I don't know, but it would make sense to have that ported across, to use a video game term on that. A few more bits of support coming in. Ahmad, thanks for becoming a Red Team member. We also have JWST full stop becoming a Capcom member. That means you get access to the Discord server. Pink Mouse saying, what's my favourite shuttle fact? My favourite shuttle fact is that the best shuttle is Discovery. And Tekran asking the same question there, or actually with the engines. Does S25 have electric or hydraulic?
I am sorry, but if you look at the ship right now, we are getting a clear indication that we have header tank filling and venting. So we are very, very close here. This is the header tank at the top. There's only one thing there, it has to be the header tank. So there we go. We might be very, 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 very close here.
How many seconds do you think? Do we have time to talk anymore? I don't want to talk over it, so
Oh no.
I don't. I don't want to keep talking.
The thing is, it will be most like we don't expect a static fire, so you won't talk about like engines firing. We should prime for everybody for what to expect here. What you will see most likely is a burst of white clouds coming from the vehicle bottom. Now you might say now, well, I see that right now, but I would say no. A, it's not coming from the bottom of the vehicle, it's just coming from a line next to it. And B, you will see it coming out with some sort of dedication and force directed to the bottom. It will not have any thrust significantly to it, but it's like a burst of white smoke coming out of the vehicle. And that's a spin prime. That's what we are looking for here, just to make sure that we are. So you will see it in that, like, between these legs.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to look at the temperature here real quick, because you can see we have our wide view on the right, our close-up view on the left, and you can see the heat haze is just, it's very warm. Well, for me, it's very warm down in Starbase right now. It is 37.3 degrees Celsius. For those of you using Freedom Fahrenheit units, that's 99.1. That is incredibly warm. I think that's basically our hottest ever day ever over here.
Yeah.
So very warm for those of us not accustomed to South Texas. I do have to say.
That would certainly be a day, Germany, where I don't do anything. Like, that would be a everybody just stops doing anything and just lays down day. That would be bad.
There's a question here, a super chat question actually, pretty relevant to what we're seeing right now. Why do they load up so much liquid oxygen for the spin prime? Trevor, why do we see so much liquid oxygen if they're just, not even bothering with the ignition?
That's a good question that I don't think we have a good answer to. I think some contenders are they just want more mass in the vehicle, or also just to test, loading procedures, get data from the ship, but SpaceX hasn't said anything official.
Yeah. Just getting word from our one of our camera sites here, the weather there, saying that it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Feels like 113 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you, it's always warmer there than you think. Like, the temperature lies, it's always warmer. It's crazy.
And for everyone else in the world, that's a feel-like temperature of 45 degrees Celsius, which is ridiculously warm. And the pressure's not even that high. The pressure's only, it's below like the average atmospheric pressure. So, yeah, very, very warm weather down in Starbase today. I'm going to look through for some shorter questions here quickly, because we are coming up to a suspected amount of time. Thinking about 10-15 minutes for about 10-ish minutes ago. Adrian, how are we looking?
I feel still pretty confident that we might see a test in like minutes from now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we would see like in less than 5 minutes. This looks almost ready, like, to me, in terms of where we are, would expect a test.
Just looking through here for some more questions. May have to take a pause on these for a short while until the spin prime test actually spin primes. But as Adrian
I don't know if we get any more indications. That's the biggest problem is they probably won't turn on the deluge for this.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So we don't get any good indicators. I could see the engine chill vent maybe stopping very close to it, or usually there is usually a signal, like some sort of vent change, like pattern change, once they go into like pressurizing for tests, and there are some indicators. The problem is sometimes we only know in aftermath, like, oh, that was the indicator we're looking for.
Yeah.
So there will probably be some sort of change shortly before the spin prime. We just don't know yet which sign it will be.
Again, I'm scared to open my mouth because I don't want to talk over it, and then Chris, clips it for the tweet, and then there's just me blabbering on whilst it's happening in the background. But anyway, expect it soon, everybody. Don't go anywhere. Spin Prime is only a few moments from now. Very quickly, this question here coming in from Timsky, semi kind of related. Do we think that we'll see the booster hops or catching tests? Trevor, do you think we'll see the boosters testing by themselves?
No, I think SpaceX wants to get Starlink satellites, the full V2 Starlink satellites, into orbit. So if they'll launch those into orbit and do testing from there, it's a win-win for them that way.
Is that a new vent? Like, there's more. I'm just looking at condensation. It's so funny because we just stare at condensation.
Yeah.
But I think we might be very close here. It seems like the best signal always is the situation is static, because that means usually they reach the point where they no longer fuel, they're no longer like buried. So we might be very, very close here. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But more and more vents, and there's a new one in the center of the. It's so much to track.
So many
Vents
vents
everywhere.
So many vents to crack. Yeah, there's just you see coming up from the bottom, coming down from the top of the frame, coming towards us from the middle of the frame, left, right, and center, absolutely everywhere. Loads of vents.
Yep.
And there you go. Be a rocket nerd, they said, and we'll be staring at condensation for hours and hours upon end. Best part of the job, what can I say?
I miss these. So when these, like when there was the break in Starbase activity, I really started to miss these, because this feels more like investigative. Like, we look at things, we try to understand them. With a Falcon 9, yes, Falcon 9 is great and exciting, but there's nothing I would probably not discover something new doing a Falcon 9 stream.
Yeah.
But we can discover new things and learn new things in these kind of streams. And that's interesting. Like, these are the kind of changes I'm looking for. So this might be the vehicle maybe being ready now for Spin Prime. Let's hope that it's it. But that's an interesting pattern change.
A little vent popping out there. Oh, bird flying in the way. A little vent popping out there. Seems pretty constant. Doesn't look like a little instantaneous thing. That seems like a pretty constant vent coming out from just in front of the left flap from this perspective.
Yeah. I think we have not gotten to that point in the last test, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I'm just staring at the bottom right now.
Yeah,
This
me too.
Any second could be the time for Spin Prime.
Yeah. I'm seeing the viewer count tick up a little bit as we enhance. I'm seeing the viewer count tick up a little bit. So if you are now just joining us, the Spin Prime is expected any second now. So don't go anywhere. This test is expected to occur in any moment from now. Of course, we don't get any official feed clock or anything like that. So we are putting our best estimates in. But based on everything we've seen, that is what we are expecting. Would have been really good timing if it happened just then, as soon as I stopped talking, but unfortunately, no.
No, of course it will happen just now. It's always you always try. You always try. You just it never happens, but you wanna one day be like the person.
Watch it happen while there's tons of venting going on, so we can hardly see it.
Oh, that would be so unfortunate. It's always exciting to see this very close, and it feels almost alive, right? This vehicle feels like there's so many things going on.
This reminds me of the live streams back when they first installed a Raptor engine on Starhopper, and we were waiting for the first Spin Prime.
Oh yeah, that was really cool, and I also think like it makes you understand the complexity of this vehicle, because every single vent, like every line and everything, that's like multiple valves and everything involved that need to work correctly.
Yeah.
And that's for every single thing you see. It's such a complicated beast, and it's always an achievement to me how these rockets work.
The scale is also incredible. I mean, right there in the center of frame is just a normal staircase, and yet the ship absolutely dwarfs it. It's just insane, the scale of this machine. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Still, I'm scared to talk over it.
Yeah, it's always I mean, at this point, it feels very consistent. So we know that SpaceX tends to perform these last-second holds with these tests, where they basically
Yeah.
verify, hey, everything good? Can we proceed? And once they have done that, they will proceed to the last segment. So this might be a situation where we end right now, where they just verify, okay, we are good to go, and then I mean, it's not a red button, but I always imagine that somebody's pushing a giant red button that says "go."
Yeah.
I want to. It's my world. I make it. I make it happen in my mind.
As we all. Oh,
And there we go.
there we go.
And that was a spin prime test of ship 25. That
Kind of looks like it still might be going. I'm not sure because of the fog.
It looks over now. That looked
Yeah,
like
that's
a
like a
pretty long
vent.
spin prime test, though.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
kept going for a hot few seconds there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The first spin prime since the rollback of Ship 25, and it's still intact. So that's a win on that front at least. But there you go, a pretty, I'd say on average, that was a pretty long spin prime.
Yeah, that was certainly.
Also looked like
That was
multiple
certainly what it looked
engines.
for.
At least 3 from what I could tell, but it easily could have been more.
Yeah, I saw also like 3 at least. I mean, the basic the I would expect now it was probably we would probably expect 3 or 6, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll wait for confirmation.
Yeah.
John here saying clearly it was a cold second. Thanks for the correction. I was looking in chat just before the spin prime went off and everyone was counting down. I'm not sure if anyone was actually correct. And I also saw a few people asking us to say spin prime or a static fire. As it's been showed to you now, this is a spin prime test of the ship. Adrian, do we think there will be a static fire? I know we haven't got an overpressure notice, but can they still static fire without firing one of those?
I think they will not. There's a reason why they put these notes out, because static fire tests are quite violent and quite dangerous. So I don't think so. Also, looking at the time, we are at 3:30, so they have like 4.5 hours. Quick math in my in the window here. So even if they start, like, they have to detank, then look at the data, then verify everything, go again, start the propellant priming, fill the vehicle, and then test and then detank. That's very, very quite tight in the overall picture. So I think what we will see here is they will detank the vehicle, look everything, verify everything over the next few hours, and then we will see a static fire test in the next few days. That's my prediction right now.
It's also worth noting that SpaceX is not in a rush to get this testing done. There's still a ton of orbital launch mount work to do, concrete to pour, so may as well take the time, make sure you don't lose a vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not expecting a stack later this evening and then the flight tomorrow morning. There's plenty more time until any of that can happen, especially more testing on the ship, testing on the booster, testing of the GSE of stage 0, because let's not forget, that's not an overnight fix. That's still going. Yeah, it's going quicker than I'd say a lot of people thought it would go, but it's still a long process which needs to be tested and verified before they put another vehicle on the pad. I'm just going to run through a couple of super chats here that came in whilst we were staying quiet
Somebody's
for the spin
quoting
prime.
you. Somebody's quoting you with like a missing important context, just saying like "fly tomorrow morning," Ryan.
There are
Thank you,
several rockets flying tomorrow morning. Maybe that's what they're getting at.
We hope
sneaky
so.
plug. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Michael with $5. Thanks very much for that. And we also have Jonathan with the 10. Excuse me, $10 super chat. Asking, this was a little bit old, so we may have to wind our brains back a little bit to what we were saying 10 minutes ago. Asking what the new venting to the right of the engine chill bleed line connection looks like. The venting is pointed up and down, but a very thin, small stream. Adrian, could we do we know what that is, or is it just another one of the various vents which we attempt to count?
I think it's hard. Like I have not enough evidence to say what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Trying our best. This is all we have. We just look at a picture and see it, and work it out from there. Adrian, not this Adrian, a different Adrian has a question. On a spin prime test, do they test all the engines simultaneously or in a sequence? Trevor, do we have a startup sequence like 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it just all at once?
Yeah, so during any engine testing, static fire, launch, or spin prime, they'll be staggered. If I remember correctly, on the ship it goes sea level engines and then vacuum optimized engines, and then obviously on the booster it is significantly more complex since there are 5 times more engines.
And Ben Glasgow here has a very interesting question, which I don't actually know the answer to. Who coined the term spin prime? Or Adrian, is this a term that's just been used for so long that we don't know what's going on? Or who came up with it? Or was this some kind of SpaceX term? Or where does spin prime come from?
I'm pretty sure it was a term before SpaceX, but I don't remember. I know somebody at some point told the origin story or like where it came from on air here, but I have to excuse myself here. I don't know exactly, but I know it was a term before SpaceX, if I recall correctly.
And where you can see that the zoomed in view has appeared in your top right there. So the main view is going to be switching to something special very shortly, which may or may not involve 2 people, which you are very familiar to and accustomed to on the channel. So don't go anywhere. We'll be showing that to you in a second. And Chris B's been running a poll in chat quickly, asking about the age groups. Very interesting curve there, kind of. The 20s age group has kind of beaten out the 30s, but the 40s and older really taken the lead there, nearly by, I wouldn't say double because that's not how statistics work. But there you go. Cool poll. Kind of a more general question, this one, from Popty, asking, what is the test for? Trevor, what is a spin prime test for? What does this actually validate? What does this tell us?
Yeah, sure. So, right, once again, what this test is, it's flowing small amounts of liquid oxygen through the oxygen turbo pump in all of the Raptor engines. So what it does, it's just to validate plumbing, make sure that the engine spin up is working as planned, making sure, all of the 5 million things that need to go correctly for an engine to start up, that the first 3 million of those are working correctly. Not the most exciting test, but very important to maintain having a healthy vehicle.
It's a good question here from Out of Space. Can't really see it on this view, but asking what are the, or rather, where are the liquid oxygen and methane tanks located? Adrian, what positioning do the liquid oxygen and methane tanks take up in? I'll throw in the booster as well. Ship and booster. Which way round are they?
Could I get a front view here, Patrick, or is that not possible right now? From the vehicle, because then I can, I think, easily show it. But in general, the lower tank on this vehicle is the LOX tank, which is more filled here. And the upper tank is the methane tank. You can actually see here where the LOX tank ends, because there's a very abrupt line at the top, and that's about where the LOX tank ends. And above that is the methane tank, and we cannot see the methane tank because there's probably some methane in there because the recondenser was active, but not enough to fill all the common bulkhead and then touch the outside of the rings. So we didn't see any methane ring on this.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eric. I've seen a couple of questions from out of space so far today. Good questions. Thanks for the good questions. They definitely help out the streams, the questions. There's no point us being here without the questions. So if you have a question, tag us in chat, and that's a space fight. We'll do our best to answer it. As always, any stream, tag it. Maybe not always in like Starbase Live, Space Coast Live, McGregor Live, because we don't always have voices on there. But like even Raptor just put them in chat. We'll try our best to answer. That's the entire point of us being here, to try and educate everybody and make this all more accessible to everybody. Eric becoming a PadRap member. Thanks very much for that, Eric. Greatly appreciated. All goes a long way in helping to support the channel. And Everyday Space Nerd has a very interesting point here. We're since Ship 25, but Ship 25 can't get to near orbit without a booster. And the booster accompanying Ship 25, according to SpaceX's little Twitter video they put out, is Booster 9. So, Adrian, have we seen any Booster 9 testing? And if not, when would that start? Or when are we expecting that to start, should we say?
So, Booster 9, it was tested before 2 times actually, in 2 cryogenic proof tests in December of 2022. So, before they already did some testing on it and verified its overall structural integrity. And they already started installing engines. We expect a test in, I would say, a month or so. There might be some disagreements about that. But based on, I think, overall expectation, we expect a Booster 9 test in a month or so, I would say. But yeah, so far 2 tests on December 1st and December 29th.
In my opinion, if we have any Booster 9 testing next month on the orbital launch pad, that's a huge win for SpaceX.
I agree.
Yeah, especially considering the amount of work and effort they've had to put into repairing Stage 0 over the last few months since the launch on the infamous date of April 20th. Yeah, there's a lot of work that's gone in. So I mean, the cadence we're seeing right now for testing, we jokingly say, as always, work continues on the OLM because that's what's happening. SpaceX are just going ham on that thing and repairing it, and the concrete and the rebar and the new deluge system and the long list of things that SpaceX is adding or repairing since Booster 7. Is shredded up a nice term? I don't know, shredded up is a nice term, but it's basically what it did. Concrete tornado is what Das said in his 50-minute long feature video on the topic. And Das is somebody who you might be seeing in a few seconds' time, because it's not only South Texas which is seeing a little bit of rocket action today, this technically afternoon. We're also going to be seeing some smaller rocket action over in New Mexico, specifically the Spaceport America Cup. And there is a Das. Hello, Das. How you doing?
Nice. You didn't just say you're on, did you? Oh, I'm on? Well, somebody should type to me on the back channel if I'm actually on. Is it actually going through? I'm just going to assume that it is and talk like this is actually... Well, Jack is laughing. Jack is not being useful right now. Is this good or not, Jack?
I'm useless.
I still haven't gotten a message here saying that we're in or not. I think we're actually live. Actually, I just got the message. We are out here once again at Spaceport America in New Mexico, supporting the Spaceport America Cup 2023. It's the student rocket launch competition they've been doing out here for years and years. Actually, out behind me is the range. We've seen a couple shots go off this morning, but then the wind's been picking up here a little bit, and we are currently in a little bit of a wind hold. But we are out here supporting the live stream operators, running some cameras. We have one of the robotics computer vision tracking cameras out here. That one's not deployed yet because the wind and the dust has been a little bit rough. But we're out here to see some students launch their rockets. I'm not actually seeing... Yeah, okay, as long as everything's good. I'm not actually hearing if y'all are getting me or whatever. Okay, Jack gave me a thumbs up, nice. But the students are out here. I think there's over 150 teams, around 150 teams this year. They're from all over the world. They bring their high-powered sport rockets, and they shoot for 10,000 or 30,000 feet from the rails out behind me. There's a couple different ranges. Over on one side, they have 3 sets of solid rocket rails, and those are just, you know, your regular Estes motors, but massive motors, not like ones you buy at the store. There's a whole set of them over there, and what they do is they go in salvos. They'll get 8 of them ready to go, 10 of them ready to go. They wait for a spot in the weather, it trims down a little bit, and then they fire the things off in salvo mode. There's also a hybrid range over this way, and we actually got a couple hybrid launches already this morning where it's not just a solid motor, it's a mixture of some sort of liquid or other propellant with a solid propellant, usually on the hybrids. I think they could do both, but I haven't heard about any of those this year. And there's another experimental range even further that way. Of course, there's so much room for us out here because at Spaceport America, they have the area closed off for space operations, right? We know that Virgin Galactic's been, Jack, right? Jack is actually on a microphone.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I can do more than just nod at you. Yes.
Jack can talk too. We've seen Virgin Galactic out here. They're launching from the runway. You actually can't see it, but it's a couple miles in this direction. We're at the VLA, the vertical launch area, where they do the high-powered rockets and stuff like that. A couple other tenants and stuff like that around Spaceport America as well. But we are out here all the way through the weekend. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Student rocket launches going off just about every single chance they get when the weather, it's mostly the winds right now, is calm enough for them to actually launch these things. You see them go up, you see the chutes pop, and then the students actually have to go out and recover them as well, hiking across the desert, staying hydrated. They've got radio beacons and stuff like that, trying to find them. I'm not sure when somebody's going to tell me I should stop talking, but how are we doing, Jack? Are we good?
Yeah, Trevor's asking what you're wearing.
What am I wearing? Oh, we didn't even explain. Well, so in an effort to get a little bit different angle on things, we are actually on top of a Skyjack right now. So I am actually tethered to the Skyjack doing a live shot, and that gets us a little bit different angle. It also gets us up out of the dust and the bugs. Don't tell everybody who's stuck down in the dust. But we are properly harnessed up and tethered in so that we can be up on the jack. Now, right now, the jack is not even at half height because of the wind. If it gets any windier, we'll have to bring it all the way down. And if the winds calm down, which is unlikely in the afternoon out here in the desert, we can actually take this thing all the way up to 40 feet, so our cameras are 45 feet off the ground. But anyways, any other questions?
I am not seeing any right now, but it's just interesting because this is a Starship testing stream, and we are in a aerial work platform, a scissor lift, and it's windy, as we've seen in Starbase many times.
Yep.
And we're just sitting in this thing wiggling around. So
it like rocks. You sort of get your sea legs, and it sort of like rocks back and forth in the wind. But it's really not that bad. I mean, we're not anywhere near the height of the lifts that they have out at Starbase, but it's not too terrible. Take it easy.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a newfound appreciation. It's a newfound appreciation for workers having to weld or do
anything on the lifts.
Yeah, exactly. They're telling us we can do this for as long as we want. Just throw back to the hosts.
Just throw back to the host
when we're ready to be done. So that means we own the stream now.
We own the stream. Maybe we should do like a tour and explain what we can actually see out here. Some of the cars are coming back. Let me get behind the camera and I'll show you all the different launch pads. And, well, actually not launch pads, launch sites and stuff. I'll just do it from over there. We're fine. Yeah.
People are saying your tether is tethered to me.
I'm tethered to Jack? No. I have my own grass-fed artisanal tether point over here. You have to pardon me if the camera's not exactly level, but let's see what we can see. Over here, just behind, I'd have to lift the camera up. I can do that. Right there, you can see that is the launch control, those containers that actually have the tarps, the little sunshades on top. And that is sort of it's like the range operations, where they clear the range, they say what the status is, and they give the rockets the clearance to launch. The road next to them over here, that's actually the road that the students use to carry their rockets out there. Of course, you're not walking out there. We're a safe distance away from the rockets, but they are currently coming in. And it looks like they're coming in from the solid rails out there. So let's zoom all the way in on the solid rails. And there you can see some of the tents. I can't see in the sun here, but it's possible that y'all might see some rockets. I can't tell on this.
Red flag.
I do see a red flag that's raised out there, meaning everybody's going to clear out the range. and we'll hopefully get some launches here in just a bit. I see the tents. I see another vehicle out there still, so not completely clear.
Yeah, we just had some cheering from one of the tents over here and some chanting. So hopefully that is a positive indicator that we're about to see
spectator area
a launch.
So we'll keep an eye on them over that way. That's the solid area. There's another area. Let's not do the launch pads now. Let's come back in this way. And since we did the launch control, let's go here. Because back this way, here's actually the viewing area right at the end of the tents there. It's going to be a little hard for me to aim this and hold this where it needs to be. There we go. But this is the student viewing area. There's not a lot of students over there right now, but that'll fill out with students whenever they know that their team's about to launch. Back in the back, we sort of refer to this as like Rocket Burning Man sometimes. Sorry about the tripod moves, but whatever, single camera. We have like a setup and safety check area back over this way where they will they'll check out the rockets and make sure that they're all safe. They have to go through the checklist to make sure everything's good before they're allowed to actually launch. The student area is actually back here. And when I said it's sort of like Rocket Burning Man, that's what we meant. They come and they bring their tents out here and they build and set up their rockets underneath the tents in the background there. So you can see it's not just like one or two little tents. It's actually around 150 schools that were participating this year. And then in the background, even further back there, that is actually the spectator area all the way back there. So friends and family, even the public can come through. You can come out to Spaceport America, you can stay under the tent there. They've got some food trucks and stuff like that lined up as well. And they got some bleachers even, and you can watch the rocket launches if you're just a member of the public who's within viewing area of Spaceport America. So let's see here, what else did we talk about?
I don't know, but let's get a sweet shot of my Land Rover.
Do you want me to get a sweet shot of your Land Rover?
Of course.
All right, here's a sweet shot of Jack's Land Rover right here. We got the NSF truck, and we're actually camping in that RV. There's the Land Rover, Jack.
It successfully prevented me from dying on the way here, so.
Here's actually Jack. Say hi to the camera, Jack.
Hi to the camera, Jack.
I assume the tether is still good if you're sitting in a lawn chair.
Hopefully. But you're right, this is a lot like Rocket Burning Man. I feel like I need like some kind of art car that's like rocket shaped and like has fire coming out the back. Maybe I'd be wearing like some kind of steampunk sort of getup. Maybe like have like aviation goggles on.
I need
like,
some goggles for the sand.
I need goggles. I actually need. I'm not even joking. But hi everybody.
It's 15. Wind is 15, gusting to 24 right now, so not terrible. We do have to keep track of our wind ratings so that we know. Sorry for the spin around on the camera, but we keep track of the wind ratings since we're up on the lift, so we know when it's time to come down. Look at that. Can y'all see the dust out there? That's not the levelest camera shot in the world, but I'm on a lift. It's shaking anyways.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, you just look at the dust blowing across the desert. Do we have the thermometer right now? What's the thermometer reading? Here, y'all.
Here, let me give you a weather report from the New Mexican desert. It's hot.
in the sun.
It's hot.
Not the best.
But at least it's a dry heat.
Look, we got Celsius on there as well for everybody not in America, I guess, not in the United States. What does it say? 45, 46, 47 is what this little thermometer is saying right now. It's in the sun. It's not in the shade. We have a little IR thermometer as well. We sort of point at things. Let's see if there's anything happening on the hybrid range over here. The hybrid range is off in this direction. Oh man, the sand has gotten to my zoom key again.
Oh god.
Yep, it's not zooming soon.
Everything becomes crunchy.
Yeah.
I try and plug something into my MacBook. The USB ports are crunchy.
Oh yeah.
I type on the keyboard keyboard's crunchy. I take a sip out of my water bottle. The water's crunchy.
The water tastes crunchy. Oh my gosh, what did you shoot that at?
Just the ground. Keep pushing the button. That button.
Here, we've apparently got one of these as well. It is rough up here in the wind. One of these little. Oops.
It went out.
Ow! You got to take a reading again for me to keep it
pushing
live.
that, and it'll stay on.
We're gonna take another temperature reading with our IR thermometer here. And here, let's see. Y'all can see that, right? Got to get the sun on it just right. There you go. That says 138 F. Oh my gosh, this thing. Would you hold it down? All right, there we go. All right. So 137.6 and 58 degrees C. So if that's what you were wondering, what we were wearing very light clothing that completely covers us. In a second here, we're gonna have a drone coming back in. I just heard on the comms net that a drone is returning in, and then more vehicles. I think that might be the last of the vehicles
And a bunch
returning
more
from the
cars coming
solid
in.
range.
Watch out. I'm gonna get some of these ants off you.
Oh, do I have a bunch of ants on me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Update: DOS is covered in ants.
Dust is covered in ants. What did I have? 3? Y'all want to see the ant? Hang on.
We're like 30 feet off the ground. DOS is
There
covered
you
in
go.
ants. We just keep getting. I can only surmise that they're being blown around in the wind, and then we're just like a tall object, so they're latching onto us. They think we're agave or something.
We're probably the only thing they can stick to up here.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're hanging out here. I don't know if this Starbase testing stream is still going to be live whenever. Oh, there's a red flag going on the hybrid range too. I don't know, but if the NASA spaceflight stream for the Starbase testing down at Starbase is still live, we'll see if we can actually get one of these launches piped in. But I will leave it up to y'all, and let's throw it back to the normal team holding it down at Starbase while we are out here supporting the Spaceport America Cup 2023 student rocket launch competition. Thanks for hanging out with us, y'all. It's windy up here.
Thanks very much to Das and Jack down there in New Mexico. I was just noting in the back channel when I went down to Spaceport Cornwall for Virgin Orbit's final launch, it was near freezing, and they put us up on scaffolding, like in an airport. It's windy, it's cold, it was horrible. I don't know whether that's worse or standing on a tall scissor lift when it's like 50 degrees Celsius. I don't know what's worse. I don't want to be in either of them situations ever again. They both sound horrible.
Yeah, 50
Anyway.
centigrade, that is impressive in the wrong way.
That's a very, very. I would like to work in that temperature. I have to say,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be functional at that. Like, I think that's close to 50 Celsius, right?
Yeah.
That's-
No, I've
Yeah.
always said
I
I have
mean-
massive respect for especially the people that work on Starbase or in any of these hot places doing manual labor. It is
Yeah.
impressive.
I guess
Can I
the
just
dust is also.
I'm in really quick on bad audio.
Go on, Jack.
Yeah, it's hot here. It's very hot. We're in the desert. It's
extremely hot.
It's
I cannot
hot here.
underscore that
It's
enough.
very hot. We're in the desert.
At the same time,
It's extremely hot.
this is
I
nice.
cannot
Like, I
underscore
can
that
sit out
enough.
here all day. As long as you
At
stay
the same
hydrated,
time,
it's fine.
This is nice.
Compared
Like,
to
I
Boca
can sit out
Chica,
here all day.
with the
As long
humidity,
as you stay hydrated,
it's just
fine.
it's not
Compared to
even a
Boca
contest.
Chica,
Like I
with
would
the humidity,
I would take 112
it's
here
just-
over
it's not
like
even a
95 in
contest.
Boca Chica with the humidity.
I would take
It's just-
112 here
it's brutal.
over
It's a
like
whole other
95 in Boca Chica with the humidity.
We had
The
that
joke is it's a dry
It's
heat,
brutal.
but
It's a whole other animal.
It's a joke because it's true.
The joke is it's a dry
I think
heat,
we had
but
that
it's-
close
I
to
mean,
launch
it's a
day where
joke
we were
because it's true.
basically
Yeah,
sitting
right.
in clouds because it was so humid in Boca. You were like, basically the air was water. That was crazy, especially in the morning when the sun was not up yet. You could just have like high humidity, and everything would just get wet based on the high humidity. It was crazy.
Yeah. The dust, I mean, just I couldn't do it. I'm very sensitive to the heat. I couldn't do it. Big respect to everyone out there working in hot, especially humid and dusty places, especially working on these big rockets and little rockets in New Mexico. Yeah, big respect. I'm going to pull a few more of these questions real quick whilst we're seeing the ship get a little less frosty now. The frost lines are starting to drip a little bit, and the venting has pretty much stopped apart from the... we're seeing some condensation and stuff. Trevor, I think should there be any more vents as the frost line comes down? Will we see any more kind of like pressure equalization? I guess they might need to like suck the air in to equal the pressure, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so as the propellant boils, there still will be pressure fluctuations, so there'll still be some venting, but now that they're in detanking, the amount of venting is significantly lesser, as we can see from the current shot.
Raptor Engine, that's a good name, asking, what is your favourite engine of all time? I'll go around the room here. Adrian, I feel like Raptor engine may be a little bit biased in their opinion. What is your favorite engine of all time? I guess we should just say kind of like I think family might be the best kind of term to use here, not like specific serial number.
That's actually a good question. I'm almost inclined to say Raptor because it's the one I've like the closest contact with. Actually, I'm gonna say Merlin. I think I'm just gonna say Merlin. It's such a reliable achievement that SpaceX has done. It's such a performer. I think it's just a great engine. So I'm going with.
Trevor, what do you think?
Adrian stole my answer. Merlin is just incredible at this point. How often they're launching it, how reliable the engine is working, that they're on 15th flights now, and everything is still, looking like a first flight. Well, not looking, but acting like a first flight. It's remarkable, and I hope SpaceX is able to get there and even further with Raptor in the future.
I think we might be getting close to a launch here.
I don't know if Patrick wants to switch back, but I'll just throw in my opinion, which is I'm gonna make Chris very happy. RS-25, I think, is my favorite engine. I like the aesthetics. I like the shape. I like the shuttle. So
Mock diamonds.
yeah, I mean it just gives you everything. Hydrolock, hydrogen is horrible to control, but when it's put in a rocket and put in a rocket engine, it's very, very pretty. I wouldn't want to have to control hydrogen. I'll just say that. I'm happy to watch other people control hydrogen because it's an atom which does not like to stay contained, especially in pipes and different connections and things like that, as we famously saw with the shuttle and SLS.
I want
all
to
the
point
other
out.
hydrogen vehicles.
I want to point out that the RS-25 is not even the best rocket engine named RS because that's obviously RS-68. And if you like RS-68 like me, you can
Here we
watch
go.
it tomorrow
Here we
with
go.
Delta. Oh, sorry. Let's see if we can bring that up.
I don't know if we are.
I'm not sure as well.
So, Adrian, what are you saying about the RS-68?
Best.
Is
Just
there by
best.
chance a second to last launch of it coming up soon?
Yeah, like tomorrow. I don't know. It's just a fancy rocket engine. I think it's a very fancy one, and I like it. I like it. So, and again, hydrogen just burns cool. Actually, it burns quite hot. I know, but yeah.
Especially when the Delta IV, sets itself on fire during launch.
Yeah, that is cool.
I think Vulcan's kind of symbolically taking that on with the flame, the painted flame up the side, because it's kind of merging Atlas and Delta together, kind of sort of. So yeah, symbolically taking that the most epicest feature of that rocket family.
Yeah.
Ernie asking here, going back to Starship, will SpaceX catch the ship as well? If so, will they build towers just for catching a ship/booster? So we've seen the renders and whatnot of SpaceX bringing the booster back for a landing/catch with the chopstick arms on the orbital launch tower. Trevor, are they going to do that with the ship? Are they going to put legs on the ship? What about places where there aren't towers? Will they build just landing tower? What do we think will be going on with ship returns?
Yeah, that's kind of the question right now. I know during the Starship orbital streams, Kate Tice was talking about future legs for Starship, which seemed to imply that maybe they will be landing it on a landing pad like they had originally planned. Yet we still haven't heard talks of or seen any hardware for leg development. So it's really hard to know. I imagine they want to catch ship when they can, but as you mentioned, obviously there are plenty of places where you can't do that. So I think in the future they will likely do both. Have some ships that land on a landing pad, have some that land on the chopsticks.
They have the same pins near the flaps for lifting, using the chopsticks as the crane to stack the vehicles. So theoretically, me armchair engineering this, it seems possible. Seems if catching the booster is realistic, then surely catching the ship is realistic as well, because it's smaller,
Yeah.
and it has the flaps. It has less mass, and it has the same pins. So
Yeah, I should note that Elon has talked about catching the ship several times, so that's definitely something SpaceX is looking into. It's just more recent info from Kate Tice on the orbital stream seems to suggest that maybe they're changing their minds.
I think this is Lexicon asking, is there a count on how many times the Merlin engines have been reused? Adrian, I'll throw this to you, since you were the first person to mention it before you stole Trevor's answer. Do we know? Do we count Merlin serial numbers like we can see with the Raptors?
No.
How does that work?
The problem is we don't. There's no way of like. Of course, somebody would track it. Like I've learned with SpaceX, if there's a way to track something, people will track it. But of course, with Merlins, we just can't. Like there is no way. There's no obvious number on it that makes it easy to track. Like, and also we don't like have cameras next to 39A where we can just zoom in into everything. Where it's just like where we were meters away. So we can't, but we know that sometimes take part of them out for some flights and like switch them around. But at this point, I would pretty much expect that the highest flight count Merlin probably is equivalent to the highest flight count booster. Trevor, any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'll note that we've had 174 reflights of a booster at this point, including both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. So if you assume minimal engine replacement, which from what we've heard seems to be the case, they've reused a Merlin, on the order of 1,500 times, if not more by this point. So they've reused a lot of Merlins.
Yeah, it's also quite crazy when you think about how many parts of this rocket is just getting reused. I think we had the discussion the other like a few launches ago on a stream where suddenly the fairing was the most reused part of a Falcon 9, which is also a very crazy. It's like, oh yeah, this fairing is flying for like the 9th time.
Yeah.
Or like the 7th or something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on numbers.
Mentioned cameras not being right next to 39A. Some people be like, but you have Space Coast Live, our 24/7 feed of all things Space Coast, Fleet Cam at the port, and LC39, and peering over to Slick 41 and whatnot. But the cameras are over 3 miles, over 5 kilometers away. Starbase, we literally have cameras on the side of the road, and when a booster rolls past, you are no more than a few meters away from the Raptors. So there's a big difference in what we can obtain footage-wise and zoom-wise and proximity-wise between Starbase and the Cape, just because that's how the Cape works. Starbase being where it is, built in the way that it is on public roads, is just that. It's just a part of the nature of the site there. Looking through some more questions now. If you have a question, put them in chat. Tag us at NASA Spaceflight. Brings it up in the queue here, and we'll do our best at answering them. Especially as we hear more from Das and Jack down in New Mexico. Daniel asking here, when will SpaceX extend Falcon 9 boosters from 15 to 20 flights? Trevor, have we heard anything about extensions of flights? Because there's a couple boosters now, I forget the numbers, but they're holding at 15 flights. Are they going through refurbishment, something like that?
Yeah, sure. So B1058 and B1060 have both launched and landed 15 times now. And for a while, it was thought that SpaceX was going to retire or do major refurbishments to booster at 15 flights. However, I believe we've had more recent rumors say that they're going to go for 20 flights. Of course, SpaceX has not commented officially on this, But in my opinion, we can expect B-1058 and B-1060 to launch for their 16th time sooner than later. Will they reach the full 20 goal? I don't know. But we're already well past their original 10 flight goal, so it's been a huge success.
And James here has a question. Could SpaceX route the cryopipes through the water-cooled steel plate so it's colder before the engines fire? Adrian, from my position, in my opinion, that seemed a bit like a logistical nightmare to send the cryogenic pipes even further than they already do go. But what's your thoughts on that one?
Sometimes also it's not good to create more cool surfaces, because if you cool it down more, it just means the difference between the cool and the hot is just getting bigger. So you increase the potential friction and the potential expansion of the material, which sometimes doesn't help. So we even see on rockets that you are preconditioned sometimes for a certain temperature, so it's not a shock for you. So I'm not sure if that's... And again, like, it also sounds like a logistical nightmare because it would just create more pipes.
In my opinion, the last thing you want is for your expensive, hard-to-insulate cryopipes to be anywhere near the exhaust of a rocket.
Very good point. Very good point. Just going to look through here quickly to see if there's any more burning questions that we can get to before the ship starts to really start, emptying out. You can see the frost has really started drooping now. There's just one little strip of frost still reaching near the top of the tank, but the rest of it has started to fall down as the ship is detanked. Quickly here for Mr. Vipitz. Why did the frost line rise so evenly and then suddenly jumped? Trevor, I think gravity means that the level inside the tank will be the same. So why does the frost not follow evenly?
Yeah, this is honestly a good question that I've wondered why we suddenly see a large increase in frost on the front side of the booster. I'm not sure. It could, I suspect, has stuff to do with venting, and not from liquid in the tanks, but it's a good question.
So there we go. That has been the first spin prime of Ship 25 since its return to the suborbital launch site there, which of course is no longer used for suborbital launches. It is purely used for testing like this with spin primes. First of all, I want to give a big thanks to Adrian for popping in, saying hello, giving us his awesome insight as always. Thanks, Adrian.
It was a great pleasure, and I'm just so happy to see engine testing return to Starbase. So that was a great one.
I concur with that statement, and also to Trevor, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, of course. Hoping we get some more exciting testing in the coming weeks.
And I've been Ryan Caton. I've popped in since Chris took a break about an hour ago or so now, and in the background, pushing the buttons, making the stream go. Patrick has been doing an awesome job as always. Also bringing in that feed for us, Das and Jack in New Mexico, bringing in that feed. Patrick from there. Oh, look at that! Look at beautiful. I think that's a barn door wipe. Wonderful, Patrick. Absolutely beautiful. But from us, I'll leave it off there. Thanks everybody for watching. Well, fingers crossed we'll see you for some more Starship testing soon. We've got Delta IV Heavy tomorrow morning if you're in Europe. Very early in the morning if you're on the East Coast. So make sure to check that out. The penultimate Delta IV Heavy from the Cape. But from me, from everybody here, thank you very much for watching this stream, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
This device might start a chain reaction.
It would ignite the atmosphere.
There's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world. We have no choice.
Oppenheimer, solo en cines.